Good evening and welcome to NTD UK News. I'm Stuart Lees and here are today's top stories. India is added to the UK's international travel red list. Just 4 COVID-19 deaths were reported on Monday, the lowest since early September. And German Chancellor Angela Merkel's party announces its own candidate to succeed her. The government is adding India to England's travel red list. It comes amid a rapid rise in cases in India and fears of importation of the so-called Indian variant of the COVID-19 virus. NTD's Neil Woodrow has the story.
In India, hospitals are struggling to cope with the rise in COVID-19 cases, leaving patients fighting for beds, oxygen and medicine. In this Indian hospital in New Delhi, it's 2 to a bed. Britain, like many other countries, has now detected cases of the so-called Indian variant. Cambridge Professor of Public Health Sharon Peacock says this variant has been around for some time, has several mutations that are present in other variants of concern. She adds it is not clear whether the variant is the main driver for the current wave in India. Public Health England is investigating the variant. They want to find out whether it should be classified as a variant of concern. The Health Secretary on Monday said 103 cases had been logged in the UK, with a vast majority of them coming from international travel.
After studying the data and on a precautionary basis, we've made the difficult but vital decision to add India to the red list.
From Friday, the 23rd of April, visitors who have been in or transited through India in the previous 10 days cannot enter England, and British and Irish nationals will be required to quarantine in a hotel. SNP MP Dr Philippa Whitford questioned whether the government should be taking further measures.
I therefore welcome that India is being added to the red list to reduce further importation. But will he not now consider extending hotel quarantine to all arrivals, as travellers from red list countries can currently avoid it by coming via a third country?
Over 1 million Brits visited India in 2018. According to Dr Geoffrey Barrett at the Wellcome Sanger Institute, if this variant is driving the wave in India, it has taken several months to get to this point. This would suggest that it's probably less transmissible than the Kent variant. Neil Woodrow, NTD News, Epsom, Surrey.
Police in Northern Ireland said today that a bomb had been found near the home of a part-time police officer near Dungiven in County Londonderry. Police closed off part of Ballyquin Road as they examined the scene. The head of the Crime Operations Department confirmed on Twitter that it was a viable bomb. Chief Constable Simon Burns said he strongly condemns this outrageous attack on the officer and her family. Northern Ireland's political leaders, both Unionists and Republicans, have also condemned the attempted attack. First Minister Arlene Foster said there will be political disagreements, but Northern Ireland must keep moving forward. We will not be dragged back to bombs and bullets. A review into policing during the pandemic finds the service responded well overall. But inspectors say unclear pandemic laws caused confusion among some officers, leading to mistakes. Here's NTD's Jane Worrell with the details.
The police watchdog says it's sometimes hard to enforce lockdown restrictions because of unclear pandemic laws. A policing during a pandemic review by Her Majesty's Inspector of Constabulary and Fire and Rescue Services says some forces first heard of new restrictions from the government's televised briefings. This confusion caused some mistakes, the review says, including police action for non-essential journeys and drone surveillance of people in deserted places. Examples include whether requests to stay local or exercise only once a day were legal requirements when they're actually government guidance. Their analysis found that lockdown restrictions were changing regularly locally, and that made them hard to enforce. Responding to the report, the chair of the National Police Chiefs Council said that the past 12 months has been one of the biggest challenges to face modern policing, and the service has met the challenge head-on. Jane Werrell, NTD News, London.
It has been 8 days since England further eased lockdown measures, and yesterday the number of deaths within 28 days of a positive test for the virus dropped to just 4.
In the last 8 days, there have been 174 deaths within 28 days of a positive virus test, which dropped by more than a quarter compared to the previous 7 days. On Monday, there were still around 3,000 new positive test results reported. Just before easing lockdown measures, Prime Minister Boris Johnson warned that the unlock could trigger more infections and deaths. Based on the last 8 days' records, it hasn't happened. By the end of last weekend, nearly 33 million people in the UK had been given the first dose of a vaccine, and around 10 million people got their second one. The Prime Minister is encouraging people to get their second dose.
We were very confident about our vaccine supplies. This is always was going to be the second dose month, and people should come forward for their second doses, and the people who are called for in the 45 to 49 group should come forward and get theirs.
According to government's lockdown easing roadmap, the next stage could arrive on May 17th, with international travel resuming at that time.
In the past year, many people's lives were changed because of lockdown. Car owners drove less, and that means for many of them, their car insurance price dropped.
Price comparison website Confused.com says the average cost of car insurance dropped £87 over the past 12 months, the biggest drop in almost 6 years. Their price index shows drivers can now expect to pay £538 for their car insurance. The report also shows the premium differences across regions. The cost of car insurance dropped the most in Manchester and Merseyside, with prices now over £100 or 15% cheaper than 12 months ago. Drivers in the region now pay £708 for car insurance on average. Meanwhile, drivers in inner London pay the most, with car insurance prices in the region now £846, despite a 12% decrease. Motorists in the Scottish borders are paying the cheapest price in the country. Their average premium is just £352, £62 cheaper than last year. The report finds car insurance prices dropped the most for drivers in their early 20s. The cost of car insurance for 21-year-olds decreased by nearly £150 to £1,144 on average. However, 18-year-olds pay the most for their car insurance, with the average price for this age now just over £1,440. Male drivers still pay more than female drivers, though the average costs dropped for both. Male drivers now pay £574, while female drivers pay £477 on average. That's a difference of almost £100. CEO of Confused.com, Louise O'Shea, says, despite the price drop, motorists still need to shop around to get a cheaper quote, as their research shows loyalty clearly doesn't pay. This research is based on more than 6 million quotes in the first quarter of the year.
Even with the lockdowns, the RAC says there's been a surprisingly sharp rise in pothole-related breakdowns in the first quarter of this year compared to the same period last year. The RAC say they attended more than 4,500 call-outs between January and March for breakdowns, likely caused by hitting a pothole. That's the equivalent to 52 drivers every day, and 37% more than the same period in 2020. The RAC blamed the cold weather for the increase in potholes. They warned the problem could get worse as traffic increases again as lockdown restrictions ease, and appealed to the government to put more funding towards road maintenance. Many parts of the countryside have mobile signals that are not very good. As the UK rolls out its 5G network, the government is proposing some measures to solve this problem.
New laws will allow mobile phone masts in the countryside to be 20% taller. The government hopes taller masts can help wipe out rural mobile blind spots. According to the proposals, mobile companies will be allowed to make new and existing masts up to 5 meters taller and 2 meters wider than the current rules permit. Mobile operators can strengthen existing masts to a maximum of 25 meters without prior approval. New masts can be built up to 30 meters in unprotected areas and 25 meters in protected areas, subject to approval by the planning authority. Protected areas include national parks, the Broads, conservation areas, areas of outstanding natural beauty, and World Heritage sites. The government hopes taller masts will increase the range of mobile coverage and allow operators to fit more equipment on them so they can be more easily shared. This move will also avoid having to put more new infrastructure in place for rollout of 5G, as operators can improve existing masts instead. The plans also include proposals to improve mobile signals on roads by allowing building-based masts to be placed nearer to highways.
A new report reveals the impact of lockdown on children's mental health. It says closing playgrounds has made the problem worse.
According to a new report by the All-Party Parliamentary Group on a Fit and Healthy Childhood, national playground closures are at a crisis point. That negatively affects children's mental health. Since 2014, authorities closed almost 350 playgrounds, and since 2017, spending decreased by 44%. The report, called COVID Generation, a mental health pandemic in the making, says during the pandemic the trend accelerated. And it affects not just mental health. Without free play, children might lose essential resilience and fine motor skills. The report says many children also suffer from their parents' stresses during lockdown. Some parents drink significantly more, and this might affect their children's future relationship with alcohol. Lead author Helen Clark says the mental health crisis is a ticking time bomb. She says now is the time to ensure that mental health is understood to be integral to a thriving and productive society. The authors call for more spending on mental health programs.
Drones in the UK are now allowed to be flown beyond the line of sight of their pilots. Regulators have granted permission to a technology company to conduct several trial flights. NTD's Patrick Hayden takes a look.
The aviation watchdog is now allowing on a trial basis drones to be flown beyond the flyer's line of sight. The change marks a major shift in the way the technology is regulated. The Times reports the Civil Aviation Authority gives permission for technology company Seas.ai to conduct 3 flights initially. The company plans flights for the inspection of the HS2 railway construction, the motorway network and the Sellafield nuclear site. The change is a step forward towards commercial parcel deliveries via drones, which companies like Amazon are investing in. The trial flights will take place in the next few weeks and will all be under the height of 150 feet. Seas.ai Chief Executive John McKenna says, "I can't see a homeowner allowing a drone near their home until they see it normalised in an industrial capacity." Patrick Hayden, NTD News, London.
Following the footsteps of England and Scotland, Wales has now announced further loosening of its lockdown restrictions. From Saturday, up to 6 people from any number of households will be allowed to meet outdoors. And unlike in England, children under 11 years of age are exempt from the rule of 6. Also, from next Monday, pubs, restaurants, cafes and other hospitality venues will be able to resume their services outdoors. And in other news, following a power struggle, German Chancellor Angela Merkel's party leader won the contest to succeed her. The centre-right bloc is the last major party to pick a Chancellor candidate for this September election.
The leader of Germany's ruling centre-right bloc won the contest to become the candidate to succeed Chancellor Angela Merkel in the September federal election. The majority of the senior CDU party members on Monday night backed Armin Laschet for the Chancellor candidacy. And on Tuesday, the head of the CDU's smaller sister party, Markus Söder, said he would support Laschet. He said the die is cast. Armin Laschet will be the Chancellor candidate of the Union. This came after a bruising power struggle between the two. Söder has better poll ratings, though traditionally the larger CDU party decides the candidate. With Merkel stepping down after 4 terms, pressure has been mounting for the Union Party bloc to agree on a candidate. The bloc is the last major party to nominate a candidate for Chancellor. A Forza poll last week put support for the centre-right alliance at 27%, ahead of the Greens at 23%.
The European Union said it will ship over 500,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccines to the Western Balkans, partly to challenge Chinese and Russian influence in the region. There is a global shortage of vaccines, and EU countries have been struggling to get enough jabs for their own populations. But EU leaders said they didn't want to leave their poorer neighbours behind. The bloc plans to send more than 600,000 doses of the Pfizer vaccine to regional countries such as Bosnia, Albania and Serbia. China and Russia have already distributed millions of doses of their own vaccines in the region. Still to come, 2 men died in a crash at the weekend after a semi-automated Tesla vehicle crashed into a tree. Tesla says the autopilot on the car was not enabled. Find out more about that when we return.